Hi, John Michael Bliss here again for Grow, Love, and Expand. Gonna go off a little bit topic here, going into some other areas that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. Basically, life is not as we know it to be. We've talked about previous videos, YouTube videos here that uh, everything you've been taught, basically, a lot has been an absolute lie. We've talked about this. We've talked about how, like, we beat ourselves up every day because we think, we're to blame for a lot of our issues, and we do have to take personal responsibility. I'm not discounting personal responsibility, but um, there's a lot of things that are just simply out of your control. I mean, the system is rigged. Whether you want to believe it or not, the financial system is rigged. Just look at the income of the average person. How, the middle class has stayed steady for, 30 plus years, while the top 1% has grown. These are not just me making these up. These are just facts. Go out there and research yourself. They're facts. There is a system in place to deliberately keep you in servitude or service to the power elite. That's just a fact. They withheld secrets from you for medicine. They withheld secrets from you with education. They withheld financial knowledge. They rigged the financial system. Uh, there's a plethora of situations out there that have just simply have been not told to the general population. One of them has, however, UFOs, extraterrestrials, if you will. I can assure you 100% these are real. What I find fascinating is when individuals have an issue with this or doubt this, because what's really fascinating here is if this was in a court of law, it would already have been deemed to be true. There is so much overwhelming evidence on this topic that is beyond explanation. And we're not just talking you or me or some average Joe Blow out there. We're talking presidents, we're talking governors, we're talking military personnel, police officers, people who you would think, right, are supposed to be trained in certain areas, right, have seen these things. Not to mention the secret space program and all this other stuff that you hear so much about. We're not even talking about or the so-called whistleblowers. We're just talking about average people, average military personnel, average police officers, governors of states, right? This is far beyond just like some guy on his roof walking out in his backyard or on top of his roof looking up in the sky. This is like physical evidence. I'm going to talk to you specifically about my experiences. And my experiences happened when I was a kid. Now, I didn't know it. I didn't know it at the time. I do remember lying in bed, being completely. I seen it was like a green hand. It looked like I can only describe it as like a reptilian hand. Okay, it looked like a scaly hand, and it would come in my room, and that's all I would see and then I would see the covers gently being pulled off of me. Now, of course, I was a little kid. I'm screaming, paralyzed. I can't move. All right, and I feel the covers being taken off of me as I'm lying there. That happened a lot as a child. It happened, and the truth of the matter is, I didn't even realize what it was until really much, much, much later on in life. I got into this group, and they were a group to really go out and look for UFOs. That's what the group was. Okay, CSETI is what it was. I believe it might have been in relations to Stephen Greer, but it was a group out here, and that's what we would do. There was also a meditation group, so I also learned about meditation at that time. This was a long, long time ago, and basically our goal was to, go and look for extraterrestrials. But I also said it was a meditation group, right? They taught you about grounding, about how to, go within, these kinds of things, and basically achieve a higher level of awareness. Well, one time I go to a group meditation, and this person comes up to me, older lady, white hair. I've never seen her in my life. I've never seen her after this experience. And she says to me that there are some very important people. She says to me this, first of all, she goes, I have an important message I have to give to you before the meditation begins. And she goes, but won't do it until after we're done. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, time out here. What do you mean? I don't know who you are. She goes, I know you, you don't know me, but I have an important message that I have to give to you. And I said, well, wait a second. We can't wait till afterwards. You got to give this to me now. And this is strange enough. And believe it or not, I'm skeptic. I'm always skeptical. I'm like, whoa, I want to find out some certain things. Anyway, she says there's some very important people that have been wanted to get to know you and wanted to make contact with you for a very, very long time, but your fear is really prohibiting them from doing so. And I was like, what are you talking about? Who are these people? And I go, and intuitively, I just thought, are these like extraterrestrials? And she says, exactly. That's exactly who they are. But they're not extraterrestrials. They're just advanced beings of you. That's all. And I was like, what? And she goes, they have been trying for a very long time to make contact with you, but your fear is really holding them back. Now you can imagine, how do you not have fear when this always happens at night? Now when I was a kid, I always heard this sound, and then the events would occur. Now here's the funny part. After that lady told me this, let's step back earlier in the day. Earlier in the day, I was watching this movie, My Bodyguard. Not the one Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston. It was another one, or The Bodyguard it might have been called. But I thought it was My Bodyguard. But anyways, it was about a kid in high school who hired this other kind of so-called outcast kid to be his bodyguard. That's the gist of the movie, to protect him from these bullies and blah, 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 blah. And so he did. He protects him from these bullies, and it's his sort of bodyguard. And also, in that day, I love watching movies. Another movie was on, but I caught it right at the very end of the movie. It was Toy Story. And it's Randy Newman's song, I hear, you got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. That's kind of all I heard, and that was it. And I don't know why it imprinted in my brain. I don't know what the situation was, but I caught it right at that moment. That's really all I heard. Fast forward, this lady telling me that. Later on that night, I'm like, what is going on? I'm still thinking about this, but oh well. I think it's a bunch of hoo-ha, right? This lady's nuts. And I go to bed. And what happens when I go to bed? I hear this sound, and it's like, oh Lord, here it comes again. And I remember what that lady said. She said, your fear is prohibiting them. So I said, okay, don't be afraid. I'm lying in bed. I'm stiff, right? I'm lying there going, okay, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. And then all of a sudden, I feel the cover start to pull off me, and now I'm holding the covers. I'm resisting, and I can actually feel the resistance of the cover. And as I pull the covers, I see this. I hear the song, "You Got a Friend in Me, You Got a Friend in Me," and so that I just release the blankets, and they come up, and then something grabs my hand, and I lift up out of the bed, and I'm floating around the room. That's it. I'm just floating around the room. And then they put me back down, right, in the bed, and it goes away. That's it. That's the experience, right? And I'm like, so I'm wide awake. I get up. I go to the bathroom, right? Who wouldn't at that point, right? So I go to the bathroom. I'm like, what just happened? Still freaking out, right? Because who doesn't freak out? This stuff typically doesn't happen at 2 in the afternoon. It's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, right? In the middle, I mean, you're freaked out enough because it's night, but it happens at night. So I go to the bathroom. I go back to bed, right? And I'm thinking, what is that? And then, I mean, not only 2 seconds go by, literally, and I'm like lying there, and I hear again, and I'm like, oh my God, here it is again. And so I feel the blankets once again starting to pull off. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. And I see this beautiful, like blue grayish face, right, with these dark eyes, but it was very like calming, very peaceful, very nice face. I felt calm with it, and then the movie came by Bodyguard into my head, like, we'll protect you. And so I let go of the blankets, and don't be afraid, and grab my hammer, and whoosh, I shoot up straight through the ceiling. I mean, straight through the ceiling. I see the house below. I'm just shooting straight up. I literally am seeing, like, space, and next thing I know, I'm in this, I don't know what it is. I'm in a craft of some sort, but the floor beneath me is completely translucent. Man, I can see you straight through it. So I'm looking down through the floor. I'm seeing the stars, and I'm seeing Earth through this translucent floor. And that was it. That's all I remember from that experience. And then this experience happened every night for 6 straight months. Every single night for 6 months. And at the end of the 6 months, the strangest thing, it was like I graduated. And the image was me shaking someone's hand, and it was I don't know how to explain it. It was a weird hand, not a human hand per se, but it was a smaller hand, but kind of a bluish skin tone, grayish skin tone to it, and handed me like a diploma, like as if I had graduated. And it said, oh, like, you're done with this part of your learning, whatever. It was, and then those experiences hadn't happened since. It was strange, right? And that's why I said, like, a lot of my learnings when I first started this were earthly. Now they're more galactic learning. But I've realized there's so many things that people, we are not distant from anything or anybody. We are all part of the same collective consciousness, part of the same collective whole. I can tell you about propulsion systems, what type of foods they eat. They don't typically eat like we do at all. Their food is not anywhere near what we eat. Most of them are vegetarian. Okay, they don't eat meat of any kind. A lot of their stuff is synthetic food. I know it seems difficult to believe, but it's like actually, the best way I can describe it is synthetic food. It's created food. It's not. It's just, I don't know. It's like a food replicator, I guess. But it's not anywhere near the way we eat. And they eat very small portions. It's just very nutrient dense. And that's basically what they do. The propulsion, there's different types. And, that's another thing that I think people get misunderstanding about the propulsion system. How do they travel and stuff? To be honest with you, the only way I can describe it is there's different levels of technology. There really are. There are some that travel through what we call wormholes. There's some that basically don't need that. They're instantaneous thought. But a lot of it is like a magnetic propulsion. If you can imagine, like, all things have sort of this magnetic energy to it, okay? And basically how they rotate this is how they can move this vessel. Slow it, speed it up. Now, if you ever notice that when magnets are opposites, they don't match up. They actually bounce off each other. Well, if the entire universe is a magnetic field, then you can have a magnetic pull. And the stronger the pull, the faster you go, almost through an instantaneous reality. And some say, well, how come some can do it faster and some cannot, because honestly, there's the only way to describe it is some have better technology than others. They just do. I don't know if they're just more evolved or what the situation is, or they're not allowed to have this type of technology. I don't know. But it does appear that there's different levels of technology. And that's how a lot of their propulsion systems work from the things that I have encountered. Now, since then, I have learned kind of more about who I am, what I am, where I'm from, and the system. And, you know, basically, the system is the planet or planetary structure is Lyra, which now this happened later on after that experience with getting the diploma. Okay, this happened later on for me, and we'll discuss that in the next video. And we'll keep talking more about propulsion systems, because it's something I just want to get out there to people to let you understand that, you know, there's not a lot to be afraid of. We just have to be open to it, that they're just advanced beings of us, and we could talk about all other kinds of things. We'll go more into propulsion system, but next episode, let's talk more about like where the next sort of event that happened for me that kind of told me, you know, where I'm actually from. And then we could talk about how things started to evolve, you know, because Earth was Earth long before it was Earth. And I think people have a misnomer of that. We could talk about the structure of the universe and how it actually is formed and what actually forms it. And then we can go into more of a deeper understanding. And the one thing I think you're going to find out, honestly, is it's really not as expansive as you might think or big as you might think. It's just more of a layered approach or layered densiality more so than anything else. And it's a contrast, I think, to what a lot of people think or might know. And actually, it's quite simple. It's more simple than you would probably imagine. But let's talk more about that. Let's talk more about, you know, my later experience about Lyra and where I'm actually from. We'll do that in the next video. Please like this, share this information, subscribe to the channel. Really do appreciate it. Again, John Michael Blitz for Grow, Love, and Expand. Peace, love, and happiness. You guys have a great rest of the day.